Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This is my second lecture for grade 3O. So we will continue the last lecture, which was of history. First chapter, the Islamic reformers. Religious thinkers in spreading Islam. History witnessed that whenever the enemies of Islam have created problems to crush it, Allah sends His pious persons to defend Islam. Shah Waliullah is also one of these pious people who supported Muslims and their beliefs in the subcontinent in a very critical situation. He even stood against the corrupt Mughal government in 18th century, which was very risky task. He not only reformed the religious, economic, political and social conditions of Muslims but also prevented them from Marathas. In the previous lecture, we learnt about the work of Shah Waliullah, his early biography, his beliefs, work and importance of his theories. His early biography was like he was born on 21st February 1703. His complete name was Qutbuddin Ahmad ibn Abdul Rahim. His father was Shah Abdul Rahim. His father started Madrasa Rahimiyya in Delhi and his father died in 1718. He believed that Muslims were disunited and vulnerable to attacks on their religion because of incomplete knowledge of Islam and because Muslims were divided into sectarian groups like Shias and Sunnis, and the need was their fundamental principles of Islam. He really worked hard to be a role model for other Muslims. He translated Quran into Persian so that was accessible for more people. He also wrote about 51 books in Persian and Arabic. That was all Islamic books, all about the principles of the Islam. And he wrote an account of the first four caliphs of Islam. He emphasized the need of social justice and organized opposition to the Marathas. His struggle was really important for the spiritual and moral regeneration of Muslims. His dynamic personality presented him as a good writer, brave soldier, and a warrior, a mujahid, a scholar, economist, socialist, and a great leader of the Indian Muslims. Through his writings, he presented comprehensive effect and contributed by training Muslims or to found a school of thoughts that later completed his mission. He lighted the candle of Islamic revivalism, which was kept aloft by his son and worthy successors. His outstanding characteristics made Allama Muhammad Iqbal remarks that he was the first Muslim to feel the urge for rethinking the whole system of Islam without any way breaking away from its past. In the previous lecture, we also learned about uh, Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi. He was an Indian Muslim revivalist from Raebareli and he was born in 1786. He tried to restore Islam to its original purity and he was a man of action. So he believed that freedom of Muslims could only come as a result of armed struggle against the foreign and non-Muslim forces which were oppressing them. He also believed that there was need to end the evils that had corrupted Islamic society consequently. And he said that Islam could be rejuvenated and rescued with jihad movement. So he was a man of action, then a scholar. He really worked hard to raise a Mujahideen force, and his victories established him as a successful military leader. He had achieved uh, religious and spiritual freedom for Muslims from the tyranny of non Muslim rulers through a jihad movement. In today's lecture, we will learn about another Islamic reformer, Haji Shariatullah. He was an eminent Islamic reformer of the Indian subcontinent in British India. He is known for founding the Farisi movement. Shariatpur district is named after him. Haji Shariatullah was born in Faridpur district, Bengal in 1781. He was the son of an ordinary farmer. After getting his early education from his village, he went to Arabia to perform Hajj at an early age of 18 years. He stayed there from 1799 to 1818 and got his religious education. He learned Arabic and Persian from his teacher Maulana Basharat. During his stay in Arabia, he came into close contact with Wahhabism started by Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab. On his return to Bengal, he sought to purify Islam that was impaired by Hindu influence. Haji Shariatullah believed that the miserable condition of the Muslims in India led to the country being Darul Harb. The term Darul Harb, which literally means the house of war, or it may also be rendered the territory of war. The use of this phrase, Darul Harb, further indicates the threat of war from the Muslim community. This is actually the opposite of the Darul Islam, which designates a territory where Muslims are free to practice their religion, though this often implies the implementation of Islamic laws, whereas Darul Harb represents those lands ruled by non believers. So, this meant an area where non Muslim ruled. Haji Shariatullah said that in such areas, Friday and Eid prayers should not be offered. He also believed that the Muslim community had moved away from the true Islamic practice. He wanted them to return to what he thought was the proper Islamic observation of Islamic duties. And this was why his movement was called the Farisi movement. The term Farisi means standing for compulsory and mandatory duties ordained by Allah. The Pharisees are those bunch of men whose only objective is to implement and impose these mandatory religious duties. The promoter and initiator of the Farisi movement, Haji Shariatullah, however, had represented the term in a different light and sense, implying to assimilate every religious duty ordained by the Quran as well as by the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Farisi movement supported the idea of jihad against the Muslims, the non-Muslims who were undermining the true principles of Islam. His Farisi movement growth was quite rapid. Landowners as well as the British were alarmed by it. The movement was stirring opposition against them and was providing light to the darkened hearts of the Muslims. The landlords did not want Haji Shariatullah creating difficulties for them and were very alarmed that the Muslim cultivators were uniting in a desire to improve their lives and to purify their religion. They drove Haji Shariatullah out of the region to Nawabganj in Dhaka district, where he died in 1840. His work, however, was carried on by his son Mohsinuddin, who continued to work to improve the position of Muslims in East Bengal and introduced important economic measures. He divided East Bengal into areas called circles, each under the control of Khalifas, and they were responsible for the social and spiritual welfare of the people in these areas. He helped the peasants to oppose the excessive taxes imposed by the Hindus and British landlords. His opposition to the payment of taxes led to unrest in East Bengal, but he went even further and threatened to declare a jihad against the British government. The British arrested him and put him in prison. After his death in 1860, the Farisi movement declined. The movement was influential for a number of reasons. It gave encouragement to Muslims at a time when they were demoralized by the oppression they suffered from the Hindus and the British. It eliminated the un-Islamic customs and traditions which prevailed among the Bengali Muslims and helped bring the Muslims on a right path of Islamic teachings. It encountered a number of obstacles and difficulties in the beginning. It brought about a spiritual revival which led to a revival in the Islamic religion in East Bengal. Hindu influences were removed from Islamic practices. It also had an important political and economic impact. The Bengal peasants became united in their opposition to the harsh treatment they received. This united Muslim farm workers against Hindu and British landlords. Muslim farm workers were paid less by Hindu and lords, and they were collecting many unfair taxes from Muslim workers like bread tax. Hindu landlords were collecting funds from Muslims by force to set up Hindu temples. Haji Shariatullah forced Hindu landlords to improve treatment with Muslim farm workers. So it also had an important political and economic impact. Later the Pelon Thana of a district in a Dhaka division was named Shariatpur district in honor of Haji Shariatullah. Bangladesh issued a postage stamp and he was also honored by a name given to a bridge, Haji Shariatullah Bridge over the Ariel Khan River on the Mawabhanga Highway is named after him. So I think that's enough for today's lecture. Here I am going to give you an assignment because the first chapter is almost over. I am going to give you two questions. The first question is the what question, and for what question you know that this is always for 4 marks, and you have to create your answer in a para and just write about what Farisi moment was. In the second question, it's a lengthy one, and you know about the criteria that it should be for at least for 2 pages. Here the question is, was the work of Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi the most important factor in the revival of Islam in the period 1700 to 1850? And give reasons for your answer. So you know that you have three options in the Islamic reformers: Shah Waliullah, Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi, and Haji Shariatullah. Now this is your own choice, whoever you want to support. But here the question is, was the work of Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi the most important factor in the revival of Islam? So whatever option I am giving you in the question, you have to start your answer with that option. So in the first para, you have to give me your opinion, and you have to say what was the work of Sayyid Ahmad Birelvi, what he believed, what was his work, and what was the importance of his work. But you have to create the answer in different paras. Never give your answers in numberings, or you can say in bullet points. You have to create a note, but that should not be like speech on a person. It should be like a comparison between the three reformers, and in the end, you have to give your conclusion about whoever you want to support. But you have in first few paras you have to write about Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi. His don't write about his biography. You have to write about his biography in what question only. If I ask you, sorry, not what, who who was Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi, then you have to write about his biography and his education and where he born, who was his father, what he did. But now here in this question, I am asking you, was the work, I am asking about the work and his importance. So was the work of Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi the most important factor in the revival of Islam? So you have to make comparisons about the work of Shah Waliullah and his importance, then the work of Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi and importance, and the work of Haji Shariatullah and importance. So create your answer. It should be of at least for 2 pages, and conclusion is very very important in the end. That after writing about all three reformers, you have to conclude your answer and give your own view which of the reformer you are going to support. So this is your assignment. You can take help from past papers, which is like you can find the past papers in maxpapers.com. So you will get the question papers there. You will get the um, selected answers, or you get the suggestions there. You can have the examiner reports, and you can find some ways to create your answers. That is a mark scheme that will tell you how to create your answer and what should be included in your answer. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, dear students. I hope you must be clear with all the points. If you have any queries, please drop your query in the comment box. We will meet again in a new video with another lecture. Till then, bye.